Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, I wanted to go over the top 5 Runemaster builds I heavily suggest you play before this patch ends, then patch 0.9.2. Now, of course, the last top 5 build video I made was right before this patch, and I really don't like suggesting things I don't understand, so I kept Runemaster completely out of that video. So, as compensation, we're going to only talk about Runemaster. So, we're going to be talking about a few different Runemaster builds from a few different people, one of my own and a few from other people, and we're going to keep it brief. If you haven't already, I'd heavily suggest leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel, as that is not only the best way of supporting me, it's also the best way of getting other people to see the content, of course. Now, let's get into it, shall we? All right, so the first build on this list is going to be Frost, Claw, Frostbite, Runemaster. And the idea of this build is to scale Frost Claw, get as many hits in as possible, get as much ward on hit, use a Twisted Heart, get as much ward as humanly possible, while also applying a very large amount of stacks of Frostbite on the enemy. This is also boosted by the fact that the existence of the node that allows you to convert your armor shred into frostbite chance, which of course makes this really ridiculous for pushing monolith and corruption. Right now, I believe Perry is at 600 corruption with this character. As you can tell on the boss, he's at like 600 stacks of frostbite. Overall, it's a really good build. I would heavily suggest you try playing it. I trust Perry. He does a really good job with builds, and if you need to ask him any questions, I'd heavily suggest going over to his stream and asking him there as well. This is definitely one of those builds I wish I had played, but to be honest, I'd rather just let the Frostclaw Master himself play it. So here you go. I would suggest you play this build. This build's definitely one of those builds you should be playing. All right, for the second build we're going to be talking about is Ignite Glyph of Dominion Runemaster. This is definitely one of those builds in the top maybe 5-ish, 10-ish for Runemaster overall this patch, and that is mainly due to how ridiculous Ignite Glyph of Dominion scaling is in combination with just how stupid the build is. So Ignite Glyph of Dominion works like this. When you place it down, it will grow and do damage over time based on your spell damage, and then it will explode based on your spell damage. Now, there's a node inside of it that makes it so that Glyph of Dominion does ignites per second. It was like, I think it's like 3, or I think it's like 6 in total. But then you can influence that ignite per second with your ignite chance. So for instance, every 1% ignite chance that you have on your gear, including ignite on hit sources, it also applies to the ignite per second from Glyph of Dominion. And of course, we can scale this to the absolute moon, thanks to just how ridiculous just ignite is with Runemaster right now. Now, there's a lot of other things that make this build pop off really well. If you like really big AoEs, you want to be able to place like one thing down and kill the whole screen, this is definitely the build for you, because Transcribe is Graver, what it does is it allows you to convert your Fire Aura area into Ignite Glyph of Dominion area. On the footage you see, I actually had to remove area from my Glyph of Dominion to grab a little bit of extra damage. You don't have to actually do that, but it's definitely an option. Overall, I think that this is one of the better Runemaster builds of this patch, and if I were to push like 1,000 corruption all of a sudden for some reason, this is definitely one of the builds I'd use to do so. All right, so the third build we're going to be talking about is, of course, Hydra-Hedron Runemaster. This is utilizing the 3-rune combo with Runic Invocation to summon a little turret that lobs projectiles at enemies and scales with your cast speed and has a lot of damage effectiveness scaling. So the idea is you place it down and it just shoots everything for you. It's like a little mortar, and it's supposed to be a lot like Hydra from Diablo, if you're familiar with that, and it works really well. Being able to have multiple of them down, they have a decent duration. You can essentially spam them, get multiple of them at once, and it starts to get really ridiculous really fast, and it's a very fun build to be playing. Now, the thing is, I want to mention is, first off, it is very button intensive. If you do not like pressing buttons, if you don't like pressing combos, stuff like that, this is definitely not the build for you. I'd rather you play probably Frostclaw or Ignite Glyph of Dominion if you want to press less buttons. But if you are a power gamer and you like clicking buttons, this is probably the best Runemaster build of the patch by far, just because of how ridiculous Hydrohedron is in comparison to other skills and its scaling of Frostwall. And all of that combined makes Hydrohedron one of the better builds of the patch, and I definitely recommend it. The version I'm linking down below is going to be Lizard IRL's version, and I'm also going to be linking the Max Roll version as well, which is written by him. So if you want to give them some love, go right ahead. This is definitely a build you should be trying eventually. So the next build we're going to talk about is, of course, a max roll build again. That is because it's made by the wonderful Volca. He's going to be playing Disintegrate Runemaster. So essentially the idea is you scale Disintegrate with the offhand and make it deal ridiculous amounts of more damage while also, of course, using a Beam of Death. Now, Disintegrate used to be a very bad skill, but thankfully, with the introduction of Runemaster, it has gotten a lot of support because standing still is no longer completely going to kill you, and you can also deal a ton of damage with, with Disintegrate now. Thankfully, thanks to the Glyph of Dominion giving you more damage, thanks to just a lot of different stuff with the build in general. Now, I want to make it clear though that the only caveat to this build is you can't hit with anything per se. So the build is built around not hitting things. So like for instance, you try to not hit with like your Glyph of Dominion, anything. Otherwise you'll crit and you'll turn off your Gambler's Fallacy buff, which is a lot of extra crit chance, which will of course remove a lot of your damage. So you need to be very careful when playing this properly. Volca goes over it, but essentially you need to not hit anything essentially. And overall, I really like this build. This is a build that I was very surprised about when I saw it being played because I thought that Disintegrate was bad, but it turns out Disintegrate is not bad. It is actually really strong currently thanks to the fact of how much damage it's scaling. And if you like Scorching Ray from Path of Exile, you're definitely going to like Disintegrate from Last Epoch. And Volca is a really good guy. He makes really good stuff, and I heavily suggest checking him out. All right, so the last guy we're going to talk about is, of course, Wild Magic Runemaster from Amarathy. Amarathy, if you were to talk about him, he's kind of like the Joisis of Last Epoch. He makes some of the weirdest builds I've ever seen, and this one's definitely one of those weird things. Now, the idea is to spam as much bullshit as possible. You're going to be utilizing Runic Invocation and, of course, Rune Bolt to spam as many different Runic Invocations as possible to just fill the screen with just absolute crap. And it works. Turns out if you want to spam a bunch of random spells, it does definitely work. Who would have thought, right? Now, of course, this is one of the like lesser viable builds in this patch, mainly just because Runic Invocation is a little undertuned currently. It needs a little bit of help, in my opinion. But when it does get that little bit of help, this is definitely one of those builds that will pop off immensely. And that is because of all the nodes that benefit Runic Invocation for just spamming a bunch of random spells. As you can tell, there's absolute chaos on the screen. You never know what you're going to cast next. You just got to like believe in the heart of the cards, keep flinging it. Hopefully you cast the right spell at the right moment. If you want to live your life on the edge and have a little bit of fun while doing it, this is definitely the build for you. And it's one of those fun builds that I would heavily suggest everyone try at least one time before they quit Last Epoch. So that's going to be it for this build. And that's going to be it for the Runemaster builds today. I haven't really played too many Runemaster builds currently, but that's mainly because I've been playing a lot of other classes while all of my buddies have been playing Runemaster, so I trust them to fight the good fight while I get to have fun playing random bullshit builds. So if you haven't already, I'd heavily suggest leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel, as that's the best way of supporting me and making sure that other people see videos like this one. And also, if you're watching Asmongold, hi, how's it going? All right, that's going to be it for the video. Bye.